Well, it's still good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us at the beautiful Grand Central Madison Terminal. I'm Jano Lieber, MTA Chair and CEO, here with Long Island Railroad Interim President and Metro North President Kathy Rinaldi, Shanifa Riera, our Acting Chief Customer Officer. Listen, today we're here because we're announcing a really happy and significant milestone for the new Grand Central Madison Terminal, which is that we've reached 1 million riders served since this facility opened back in February. In that time, over 15,000 trains have arrived or departed from the station. And we knew from the beginning that this project was going to have a big impact, going to give Long Island Railroad commuters shorter commutes, and you'll hear a little bit about that. More service. We grew service from 650 trains to over 900 trains a day. More resiliency, a second way to get in and out of the city in the event of emergencies. They do happen. We all know about the history, and we have that second route in and out of the city. This is, as I always say, our gateway. Just like there's a gateway project for the Hudson River tunnels, we've got our gateway, and it is this Grand Central Madison crossing to bring Long Island Railroad customers in and out. And also more options. That's part of what the MTA is trying to deliver for our customers. So we've done all those things. Tens of thousands of daily customers have had their lives improved, and some of them are here with us today to talk about it firsthand. Opportunity to pursue a new career in one case, opportunity to access a world-class hospital much more conveniently in another case, or reverse commuting to jobs in Long Island. Or, as I always say, just the time savings. The governor talks about this all the time, the value of saving plus or minus 40 minutes a day if you're coming to this neighborhood rather than to the west side. I want to thank Kathy and the entire Long Island Railroad team for what they've done to get us to this point. You know, the path hasn't always been easy, but Kathy made sure we were able to hire all the people to operate this facility and otherwise to be prepared to run this amazing new service. And it has gotten us to new ridership highs. We're serving 200,000 plus customers a day. Before Grand Central Madison opened, that only happened twice. That's happening almost every day in the midweek, certainly on the Long Island Railroad these days. We keep breaking records. There's a new Thursday record and a new Tuesday record and a new week-long record seemingly every day and every week. On-time performance is back on track, up over 93%. After some of the schedule enhancements that we've made and a little experience in managing the incredibly large volume of traffic that goes through the Jamaica system as well. And importantly, we are achieving our goal of using some of the space, the additional room we have on these trains to serve New York City customers on the Long Island Railroad. The $5 flat fare city ticket has done incredibly well. It's up well over 100% over the prior year. We sold more than almost 360,000 of those in March alone. And our new combo ticket, the ticket that allows you to get a super discount on the second leg of a trip that connects Long Island Railroad and Metro North through Grand Central, the combo ticket is also saving riders a ton of money. Now we're looking to the next phase in the development of Grand Central Madison. In a few weeks, we're going to open the connection to the Biltmore Terminal. That's the area where there's a little bit of a bottleneck at the south end of this concourse. That's going to open up, and there are going to be escalators upstairs to the historic Biltmore Terminal. And we're also starting to work on getting permanent retail offerings into this space. As everybody knows, what happened was that during COVID, no retailers wanted to bank on making major investments until they knew what the world was going to be like post-COVID, and especially what the foot traffic would be like in a new transportation facility, a mass transit facility. So we had to put that process off, but we're jump-starting it now, and we anticipate putting out an RFP for a bar restaurant to be located right here in the hub of this facility in just a few months. So look out for new developments. This Grand Central Madison thing is on the move. We're doing we're making innovations and changes and adjustments every day to make it better for our customers, and we're thrilled with how it's unfolding. So with that, let me turn it over to Kathy and then on to Shanifa Riera. Kathy.
Thank you, Jano. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. You know, the legendary Vince Lombardi once said that success demands singleness of purpose, and we could not agree more. The MTA's collective purpose for the last several years has been to reimagine how the busiest commuter rail system offers its service. And through a series of capital investments over the past several capital programs, culminating in the opening of this beautiful terminal, we've met that goal over the past several months. We are now offering more trains to more places than ever before. And as Jano just said, in the week ending just 2 days ago, the Long Island Railroad saw its highest 7-day average since March of 2020, topping the record that had previously been set just the week before. We regularly exceed 200,000 riders, especially on the busiest days of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We met that mark only twice between the new year and the February 27th schedule change. Since that time, we have done it 16 times and still counting. We know that the rollout, as Jano said, had a little bit of bumpiness in the beginning, but we have been listening to our customers. We continue to listen to our customers, and we've been making tweaks along the way. We're adding cars, we're making train adjustments here and there, all to maximize the efficiency of the transportation services that we provide and the comfort, of our customers. Our riders can rest assured that the greatest transportation professionals in the world are in their corner, and I want to give a great big shout out to the Long Island Railroad workforce. They have embodied that singleness of purpose for the good of every customer in our system. We've been looking on the needs of our customers, getting used to this new normal. Our frontline employees have been out there. They're compassionate, they're helpful, they're patient. They've been really helping our customers get where they need to go through this tremendous transition for them. And behind the scenes, our operations planning professionals are executing changes every day to make sure that the customer experience is what our customers deserve. I want to offer a big thank you to all of my Long Island Railroad colleagues for their hard work, their dedication, their singleness of purpose in terms of making the service as best as we can be. And I'm very, very grateful for them. I'm grateful for the partnership of Shanifa Riera, who I'm going to be introducing in a minute. Her communications professionals have been focused on wayfinding and done an amazing job smoothing out some of the rough edges in the first couple of weeks and continuing to do great work for our customers. So Shanifa.
Thank you, Kathy. So it is great to be here to capture this moment and recognize that customers are embracing Grand Central Madison and really hear how this has been a positive effect on their lives. And this is what transportation is all about, making it easier for people to get around the city as well as the region. As Kathy mentioned, since day one, we've worked hard to make sure that this is a safe and welcoming space. And as she's mentioned, to the frontline staff and the team, huge shout out to the customer ambassador team who's been on the front line from day one, answering questions and assisting with wayfinding. And as Kathy alluded to, navigating a new terminal is not an easy task. So we have, if many of you have noticed already, have temporary signage up, and we continue to discuss internally about strategizing how to create more long-term permanent signage. That is one of many feedback that we've heard from our customers, so we want to continue to solicit your feedback so we can continue to make those adjustments as necessary. And as a quick plug for Earth Week, we all know public transportation is the cleanest, most greenest way, so please continue to ride with us. So with that being said, I would like to turn it back over to Jano Lieber.
So we want to thank Shanifa. Thank you for what the customer team has been doing, I think, so effectively. We're going to hear from a couple of folks who use this service, who I think, based on what I've heard, have had significant benefits from it. Raymond Raganath and Karen Hamilton. Raymond.
Hello, everybody. My name is Raymond Raganath, and So during 2020, me and my wife decided to leave the city and go to Long Island and get a house out there. But my heart always belonged to the city. And for the last 6 months, I've had an opportunity arise to work back in the Upper East Side at a hospital up there. And once my wife, who already commutes to the Upper East Side, started using the Grand Central line, her commutes cut down to like 20, 30 minutes, and it became a no-brainer for me to come back to the city and to be in the city that I love.
Hello, I'm Karen Hamilton, and I live in Southeast Queens. I'm close to Laurelton and Rosedale, so generally I take the Laurelton train. So a few months ago, my mother had a doctor's appointment at 7:30 in the morning. And I was able to confidently say, take that appointment, because I knew we could take a one-seat ride to Grand Central, and the doctor's offices are right over on 41st Street between 2nd and 3rd, and I knew that we could just walk over there leisurely. She's able to get to all of her doctor's appointments at NYU, Langone, with a one-seat ride and just a short walk. So this has really changed her commuting and her ability to access the care that she needs at any given time.
Hi. So I work on Train Time. We're very proud that we got an opportunity to with the first, what we did was last summer we combined the different apps for purchasing tickets and for the two different railroads. So of course, now we have trains coming into Grand Central, so we're combining the physical infrastructure at once, and the digital experience should reflect that. So we're very happy. We've had, just for some stats, we've had about, well, I don't know if I can say them. Maybe I shouldn't. We've had 350,000 transactions with Grand Central. That use this could be, for example, a monthly ticket. That go to Grand Central. So there's a lot of usage on the app coming to this terminal. We're very happy with that.
Your name?
Will Fisher. Will Fisher.
And Will is part of that team that created Train Time app, which has gotten such high reviews on the Google Play Store and all those very unforgiving consumer reviews. The MTA has never gotten reviews quite like we've gotten for the Train Time app, which is a huge benefit to railroad customers. So thank you to Will and your team for what you've accomplished. Okay.
Questions? On topic first, Andrew Siff from WNBC.
I have a couple of questions. Question one is, did the 1 millionth rider win anything? Did you identify who that person was?
We have such an amazing record of finding the riders who seem to be the most appreciative of being recognized, and in this case, people are rushing to work, and we did not want to stop anybody in this particular case.
Okay. Question two is, we know about the bumps when the Brooklyn service in particular, a month and a half ago. How confident are you that that has been solved, and are you committing to keeping the current interval of shuttles from Jamaica to Brooklyn going forward?
Yeah, I think. Listen, the good news is that everybody has gotten used to the way that the system is running, and that has created a lot more passenger comfort and accommodation, and that the first couple of weeks we've gotten through that. Now we actually seem to have more riders going to Brooklyn than we did even before. That is a positive sign that this shuttle service has been effective. We cut as you know, Andrew, we cut the headways, the intervals, the frequency down by a very significant amount. So one, people are waiting, they're not waiting more than 10 minutes, they're waiting like 7 minutes for a train. And there's always a train on the platform with doors open. So if you miss the last one, you have somewhere comfortable to sit and work your phone and be ready. So the customers have responded pretty well. We're also looking, honestly, so I think that this is here to stay, and it's worked pretty well. We're also looking at improvements to the terminal in the long run so that we can make it easier to move between tracks. That's the one thing that I know we all want to do. And we started with signage, but we're looking at other improvements as well. And we're going to continue to look. That's been the theme. We're always looking for ways to improve it and make it better. In the meantime, I got to emphasize, we went from 600 plus trains a day to 900 plus trains a day, in part because the shuttle service allowed the whole network of tracks at Jamaica to work much, much more efficiently.
My last question was just City Ticket. It's only available off-peak. Is there any plan to allow peak rush hour customers to use City Ticket, and if not, why not?
Yes. In fact, it's something that the governor talked about a couple months ago. We would like to move in that direction. We need the budget to settle in Albany, and then we're going to start moving forward on some of the adjustments, including what we expect will be a peak hour version of City Ticket.
All right, if you could just pivot to the West Coast, NJ Burkett, WABC standing by.
Mr. Lieber, good morning. You said 1 million riders on the LIRR into Grand Central Madison. Do you have any way to put that into some sort of context for us? I mean, 1 million sounds like a lot of people, but what's the context for that?
All right. So, listen. First of all, Long Island Railroad is the busiest commuter railroad in the United States. The second is Metro North. So New York has the two busiest commuter railroads in the United States. We are the Grand Central Madison terminal. We have to check the specifics. Is quickly becoming one of the top 5 or 10 terminals. Just this terminal, in a couple months, has become one of the busiest commuter railroad terminals in the United States, that million customer number. So we are, it is indicative, I think, of the way that the public has embraced it and that you've heard from people again and again. This is making my commute more convenient. This is making, as you heard from Karen just a few minutes ago, it's making it possible for me to get people to medical appointments. This is changing people's lives. So I think that's the import of it. Kathy, is there anything you want to add? Okay.
And just to follow up on that, so do you have a figure for us, a number of passengers per day coming in and out of here? I think the LIRR moves, 160,000 people a day?
Yeah, I think we're looking at roughly 50,000 passengers a day. And NJ, to your point earlier, I think this is larger than Chicago Union Station. Just this one new terminal that we opened 2 months ago is already carrying more commuter rail passengers than Chicago Union Station and South Station Boston. That gives you a sense of the scale. This is already a top-tier commuter rail station in 2 months. Public loves it.
All right, on topic, anybody else? On topic, Alfonso Castillo, Newsday.
Hi, Jenna. So I know things are much improved from those first couple of weeks where it was all pretty chaotic, but I still hear from some commuters who are as miserable as ever. They say their train is still very crowded, that some of the trains removed from the schedules makes 3 trains worth of people have to get into one. Is the reality that this is just baked into the system and they're going to have to live with it?
No, listen. The benefit of that, the app that we developed, and I think was part of that team, which shows loading. It allows us to see the level of crowding in all the trains. Number one, we're tracking how many trains are going over our standards in terms of crowding, which is 90% of capacity. And the numbers are way, 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 way down. I think almost all days we have 0 trains over 90% of capacity. So the crowding issues that we had on about a dozen trains a day in the first week or so are pretty clearly have disappeared, number one. Number two, there is much, much less crowding than there was before COVID. So I respectfully say to my Long Island Railroad customers who are telling you, if they are telling you, the train is wildly crowded, it's compared to pre-COVID, there is much, much less crowding. There's really a fraction of the crowding that there used to be. Number three, we are looking at crowding levels or capacity levels on a constant basis. That's what you've seen reflected in the changes to the schedule that have been made by Kathy and the Long Island Railroad team already. And those have played a role, adding cars, adjusting trains, which ones go to which stations at which times. And that has contributed to a reduction in crowding. And number four is we're going to be doing yet another adjustments to the schedule for the fall, which is going to try to make it even better, to improve it even further. So we're going to keep listening to customers. We're going to keep making adjustments. But if you're going to report on crowding, you got to look at the facts. It's way better than it was pre-COVID, and it's much, 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 much better than it was in that first week after the new schedule opened.
Two other quick things also on topic. One, again, on the question of context, that 1 million riders, how does that compare to how many riders have come into Penn and to Atlantic during that same time?
I think, again, the general rule of thumb, it's about 2/3, 1/3, maybe, depending on the day, closer to 70-30 in favor of Penn for the Manhattan terminals.
How about Atlantic? How does that compare?
Atlantic is about 10% of our overall ridership, so we can follow up and do specific math. But the percentage of customers coming to Manhattan that are coming to this terminal has been slowly creeping up, but it's still in that sort of low 30% range most days.
And then the last thing on topic, the M9s, I know you'd have more trains to use if you had all the M9s you were supposed to have by now. Any update on the arrival of the remaining fleet?
You want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I could just speak to the efforts that are underway to work with Kawasaki, who's the manufacturer, to try to get the trains in service more quickly. So we've been having very productive conversations with Kawasaki to get trains released and into service as quickly as possible, and those conversations continue.
All right, Evans.
I just want to say, like, if you're going to report on, the trains, like, please, bear in mind as you report on that issue that there really aren't a lot of manufacturing operations that draw thousands and hundreds of thousands of parts from all over the globe who didn't have some disruption to their supply chain during COVID, and that is part of the Kawasaki issue, although they've also had, being in the lowest unemployment state and metropolitan area in the country where they're doing this manufacturing in Nebraska, they've also had labor issues. So those have played a role, but we have been, as Kathy says, bearing down on them pretty hard.
Simcoe, Norris, Daily News, right?
Thank you. Hey, Jenna.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask about retail here. You mentioned that you're planning to put an RFP out for a bar and restaurant. Wondering if there's a timeline on that, but also wondering, there's a lot of storefronts here. Are you guys still looking for one master tenant? How's that process going?
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, the current plan is to put the RFP out for the bar restaurant in the second quarter. So that's where we are schedule-wise on that. Listen, what you want in a large facility like this that has significant retail is one sort of curatorial brain that will mix the different uses depending on, think through which things are going to work best in which places. We had really good discussions with a lot of pros who do this stuff before COVID, but when COVID came, as you know, everybody was basically saying, I'm not making major investments until we understand how much people are coming back to transit, to commuting, and particular to a new station. So that's why we put the RFP on hold, and we're going to put the broader master tenant thing out after, not in the second quarter, at some later date, but we need to give the market a chance to absorb the information about how this facility is operating and how many people are coming.
All right, anybody else on topic? On topic, anybody?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I missed it.
Sorry, Dan Rivoli is back there from New York One.
I'm sorry if I missed that, but when did you reach that milestone, even if you have down to the time, the train number? When did you hit that?
We were, unlike some of the other opportunities to celebrate, we elected not to stop any individual and try to give them a gift or a clutch of balloons. But it did happen in the last couple days, on Good Friday, I'm told. So it was happening on Good Friday. It's 1 million riders, and I was asked earlier by Mr. Burkett why 1 million matters. I mean, part of it is we're all conscious of milestones, but just to give you a sense of scale, we're operating this brand new terminal with more ridership, more people, more customers than South Station, Boston, or Chicago Union Station, in the blink of an eye. It just gives you a sense of how much people are embracing the convenience of coming to this part of town. They're using it, and we're thrilled that we're able to get here.
Sorry, did it beat your expectations? Did it beat your expectations? When did you think you were going
You know, I really, honestly, I didn't really think about that. I think what I think is where we wanted to be is to start to hear that a lot of customers are benefiting, and the fact that 30% of our customers on a regular basis, 30 to 35% of customers are electing to come here. They may not be stopping to send us heart emojis on their commutes, but they're voting with their tickets and with their feet to come to this part of town and to take advantage of the fact that there's a brand new world-class railroad terminal that's closer to where they're headed and more convenient for their lives.
All right, folks, just bear with us. We're going to go off topic. I want to give a chance to excuse the folks who have joined us for other reasons. Yeah, yeah. Amanda will.
Will, thank you.
Hoping similarly insightful questions going forward.
I just never thought that I would have Ben Brackfeld sitting before me so obediently.
Well, now we're going to Ben Brackfeld. New York's Ben Brackfeld, is it right?
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Morning.
This thing on?
Oh, afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jano. So first, I wanted to ask about the negotiations with the TWU.
Yeah.
I wanted to see, they put out a list of demands that they're putting to the MTA. One of them, I wanted to specifically see if you could comment on hazard pay, and also what impact does the budget still not being there have on negotiations with?
So you're going to hear from me and from the MTA a lot. We don't negotiate in public. So I don't want to disappoint you, but I'm not going to comment on any single negotiating item, other than to say I'm glad to be engaged with our workforce. We really appreciate, our represented workforce, the TW Local 100 workforce. They are, the MTA is a family. We work together on difficult stuff, many of them in difficult circumstances. And yeah, you got to work out a labor contract, but I'm never going to miss a chance to say that we appreciate our workforce, and we intend to resolve this collaboratively and to continue to make progress on ridership and service and safety and all the things that cleanliness and what they contribute to.
Is there anything you could say about the budget negotiations impact on the negotiations?
My impression is that the discussions in Albany are picking up pace on all fronts. And we're all really hopeful. I mean, the fact that all three of the players, the key players, the governor, led by the governor, and then the two houses of the legislature, all agreed that we have to deal with the MTA deficit, not just for this year, but for years to come, so there's predictability and stability and planning, is a great thing. I'm appreciative of the governor that she set the bar where she did, and we're hoping and expecting that this is going to be resolved.
All right, we're not going back to the goose of precedent, but you get 3 because you were name checked by the chair.
Yeah.
Okay, and as I'm sure you're aware, over the weekend, the automated subway alerts, automated all the alerts went out of order for a little bit. It seems to be because Elon Musk wants to charge organizations like the MTA a lot of money, $500,000 a year in particular, to be able to access the back end of the site and do those kinds of things. Does the at this point, would the MTA be considering paying $500,000 a year to Elon Musk? And what is the how's that being deliberated?
So I'm going to pass on the chance to comment on a hypothetical, because what happened is that whatever was motivating them, they restored our access to the back end, as you say. And the key for us is we have to be able to communicate with our customers through all of the different channels that they may use. And as we said in our statement over the weekend, that heretofore, Twitter and other channels have recognized the importance of having their channel used to communicate with the public on key public activities like mass transit. So we're hoping and expecting that that will continue. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I just wanted to add that, while we did have that issue over the weekend with Twitter, it also gave us an opportunity, our customers, to see the value in the other ways and channels that we do communicate with them. So those customers who are unfamiliar with our Weekender newsletter, please subscribe, as well as our, SMS and e-alert systems, and of course, the My MTA website. So we encourage our customers to not only rely on Twitter, but we do have other levers and channels that we would like them to peruse to get the most updated information.
Next up is Colorado right there from Pix 11 in white.
Hi, Jana. Thanks.
Hi,
So, two questions about the Eagle team.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if after the pandemic, as fare beating has increased, have you increased the number of members on that team or increased the rollout of that team? If you can elaborate on that. And then the second part is, can you go over their training? Because we know that they could be put in a dangerous situation sometimes.
Listen, the Eagle teams are first of all, they operate in groups of 6 because they are doing an enforcement function, not always, but sometimes it involves enforcement. And they have become a more important part of our overall MTA fare enforcement activities. Definitely bus fare evasion has gone up dramatically, and we are concerned about it. And having unarmed but uniformed officers, or agents in this case, in the system is part of our strategy. Now, most of those people are coming out of law enforcement backgrounds. They're mostly retired, or they're coming from another law enforcement agency, so they're overwhelmingly highly trained. We do provide additional training on de-escalation, how to manage situations, but they are overwhelmingly folks who come from a law enforcement background, so they're real pros. And we're thrilled. It's one of the things that the governor's proposal actually would increase. She put $150 million in her budget proposal, in part to pay for additional unarmed fare evasion enforcement agents of this kind. We call them the Eagle teams. So it is very much something the MTA is interested in, and they are really well-trained folks.
Because they're unarmed, are they bringing,
Right.
If they see a weapon on a passenger, are they backing away and calling the cops instead?
Listen, I'm not going to talk about specific protocols, but the bottom line is what we got to talk about is what happened today to those folks, which is they're doing public service. They're making sure that the buses, which carry families and seniors disproportionately, are kind of an environment where people can count that everyone's playing by the rules, that nobody's carrying a gun. And there was somebody who had a Metro card on him who for some reason didn't want to pay the fare. They did their job. They asked him to get off the bus. And lo and behold, he produced a .45 and took shots at our employees. I can't put up with that. The MTA won't put up with that. And we're working closely with the NYPD, first of all, to find the guy who did this. By the way, the cameras, not just the cameras on the inside, but there are cameras on the outside of the buses, and we have camera footage which is helping the NYPD identify this suspect. Not just from the bus that the guy had just been ejected from, but from another bus that was coming by. So the cameras are working. The NYPD is going to get the guy. And the main thing we have to think about is that we have public service professionals out there trying to create a fair, orderly environment with kids and seniors and people going to school, and people are shooting guns. We have to recognize, as the mayor and the governor said, part of the reason for doing fare enforcement is catching people who are trying to bring weapons onto the system. And I refer you back, didn't get a lot of coverage, but in the last week or two, there have been like 3 to 5 separate incidents where fare evasion enforcement by the NYPD has led to collars for carrying a loaded gun. So this is an important function. I'm proud of the fact that we're trying to do it in the non-armed fare enforcement agent approach, which is one that some people have advocated. It's certainly a new way to do fare evasion. But if people are going to take shots at our employees, we are just not going to put up with it.
All right, Michelle, you have a question? Yeah. Right here, Michelle Caskey from Bloomberg.
Thanks. So again, with the budget process, I mean, you guys are under a timeline here. Your fiscal year started on January 1, and you know, you need $600 million to balance the budget for this year. You also want to start those fare increases. So how soon do you need any kind of changes that Albany will make, any kind of increases or anything? How soon does that
we
need
need
to
it to be done in keeping with the budget schedule, which is unfolding, and it's everybody's expectation that's going to be done in the next couple weeks. But it's no secret we started the state required process for doing the toll increases last month. We'll have to deal with. We're waiting for an indication of what we need to do on the fare, but those processes need to start as well to actually go through the mechanics of public notice and so on. And so there is some urgency. We're not running out of money to run service today, but for planning reasons and also because so much of what we do requires bureaucratic process and public hearings and so on, we need to get it going.
Are you confident you're going to, whatever Albany's going to do, is that it's going to be enough to supply you with $600 million, or are you starting to prepare for maybe having to generate or to try to find some additional savings this year to get you to the $600 million?
Listen, I'm confident because the governor has in our system, the governor's leadership really matters. The governor has significant leadership role in the budget process, and her standard has been to deal with the entire deficit for the next few years. That's what the other houses, the House of the Legislature said they want to do as well. So I am very optimistic. But Michelle, your question's not wrong. If this goes on and on and on, the consequences of are not uncertain. The massive fare increases, potentially service hikes, God forbid layoffs. Because again, the administrative procedures associated with all of those downside scenarios take so long, we can't wait forever. Even though, as I said, I'm really optimistic about where we're headed.
All right, back to the East Coast, Steve Nesson, WNYC Gotham.
Hey, Jano. Just to follow up on Michelle's questions, and I have 2 questions of my own. But correct me if I'm wrong, but in the budget that was approved in December, there was a 2% wage increase for workers factored into that. How do you adjust if, you don't have to, I know you don't want to talk about the discussions, but how will you adjust if they want more money than that?
So again, unfortunately, I have to hit that default setting of I'm not going to negotiate, especially about wages, in public. But we're serious about coming to a labor agreement with our partners at the TW100. So that process began yesterday. It's going to continue in an intensive way in the weeks and months to come.
Just regarding the budget and are you waiting to announce the fare increase sort of program until after the budget is announced? And might it be more than 5.5%?
Well, I hope not. The governor has put on a very balanced proposal on the table that has the MTA doing $400 million of efficiencies, some additional revenue, and the restoration of those small but incremental fare increases that kept the MTA's budget balanced for 10 years. So that's what she's proposed. We'll see what comes out of the negotiations. And yes, you are right that we won't, we're not going to implement those until we know what the budget deal looks like.
All right, Dave, do you have a question? Yeah, he did. Dave Cologne right down here from Streets Block.
I always have questions. Jenna, there was a video that came out this morning. The mayor endorsed the free bus proposal that both houses of the legislature have given to the governor, the 10 free bus routes around the 5 boroughs. Just curious if you have a reaction to that.
No, but it's one of the issues that's being discussed at the budget tables, and there are other very important proposals that are floating around, like additional service. So figuring out how do we benefit New Yorkers with, first of all, securing the MTA so we can provide the great service we're providing now. And I always am going to remind you, service is better than it's been for 10 years right now. But obviously, if there are additional services, that has to be worked out at the budget table.
And then also, speaking of the mayor, I mean, last year we had to wait until around June after the Transit Improvement Summit to find out what the city and the MTA are doing as far as bus lane projects, busways. Are we going to be waiting that long for this year's slate of projects?
Listen,
I was with the mayor on that?
Thrilled that the mayor asked me to come over to City Hall, and we announced that he had a very ambitious agenda of 150 miles in his full 4-year term of bus lanes. We are ready to make good on that commitment together with our partners at City DOT. So whatever mix of lanes they want to do, we're for, but we also want to be ambitious because buses got to be faster than walking, and right now, bus lanes are key to that effort. We have made progress because we're redesigning the bus system in the Bronx. We have made progress in moving buses faster coming out of Staten Island, the express buses with that redesign. Traffic signal prioritization is making a difference. So commitment by the MTA to speeding buses, but we need the city to do bus lanes.
Are there talks with the city on it right now, though?
There are some, but at the end of the day, they have to be willing to commit to which bus lanes they want to do and how many, and we are very supportive of making good on the mayor's commitment.
All right, we got 2 more we got to go. Alfonso, you had something, right? Back to Alfonso Castillo.
Hi, this is probably for Kathy. So I understand that the gating system at UBS that the union's been calling for a while was finally put into place last week. Wanted to ask why the decision to wait until the end of the calendar season to do that. How long will it remain in place, and what, if any, issues have come up since it's been in place? I know some people have been complaining in social media about the crowding and the waiting and delays, that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, I think first just about gating generally. I mean, it's not necessarily new for Long Island Railroad customers, for certain events, right? So some of the events at Forest Hills, Mets Willets Point, and there's generally 2 purposes to gating. Number 1, to sort of control customer flow if there's going to be a lot of people, and number 2, to just enhance fare collection. It's sort of, apropos of the conversation we've been having about fare collection. When you have a bunch of people rushing on a train all at once, it makes it very challenging for our crews to collect the fare. So that's kind of the underlying philosophy behind having these gating pilots and these gating systems in place for those kinds of special events at those particular stations. So what's in place now with respect to UBS? I mean, we monitor the ridership for every main event. We look at the ridership and we sort of see what those patterns are. Bruce Springsteen was there last week. The Islander playoff games are just starting up. So we're actually working collaboratively with UBS, kind of walking around to sort of see what makes sense to be able to carry through on those objectives, and also to develop a customer communication strategy so that our customers going to those events know what to expect, so that it's all very predictable. But that's basically the purpose of that. And again, it's going to be for big events where those 2 objectives are really important to carry out.
All right, let's wrap it up with back to Newton Jones over here. Okay, and we're tight on time. We'll get to you. Go ahead.
Mine's real quick. Mr. Lieber, forgive me if I'm not clear on this, but was anyone wounded or otherwise injured in the Brooklyn incident?
There was the initial report was that somebody was diving for cover and they injured their elbow or their arm and were taken to the hospital. Those are the injuries that I'm aware of. That's the only injury I'm aware of so far.
But nobody was struck by it.
Not to our knowledge at this point, but that's an early report, and we'll have to check to be certain.
Thank you. I'm not going to ask you to negotiate, but one of your predecessors would say, no, I'm not going to ask, but your predecessors would come out and say, this is what we need from the union. Tom Prendergast said, I need 3 years of net zero wages. That was what he said going into it. What
Yeah.
is what do you need from labor going into the negotiations as management, as our tax dollars are up here?
Well, first of all, the discussion with what the union put on the table was not specific about wages. I'm going to pass on the invitation to negotiate in public. But what we will always be looking for are ways to maintain our service and our employment, and maybe even make it better and more service and more employment, but to do it productively, because we are trying to make sure that New Yorkers' tax dollars are well used.
That's your statement of principle for this?
I think he asked and answered. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.